Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more relationship stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. Let's crack on with today's first story. Now today's first story is titled Am I the A-hole for not defending my husband? And it was from a deleted user who says, my husband, 31 male and I 30 female, have been married for 3 years. About 4 months ago, we found out that I was pregnant with our first child. We were overjoyed and told most of our family about it early on. My husband didn't want to reveal it to our friends yet, and so I didn't. It was incredibly hard for me, especially because I couldn't tell JJ, 30 female. JJ and I have been best friends since we were 14. I love her to death and we tell each other every single thing, but I decided to respect my husband's wishes this time. JJ also moved 3 hours away from us earlier this year, so she doesn't visit us as much either. Naturally, over the past month, more and more of our friends have gotten to know about it, but I couldn't find the right time to tell JJ, and my husband didn't insist much either. Yesterday, JJ visited us, and I revealed the pregnancy through a small box that said, "You're an auntie now," with a baby onesie. Now, JJ's a little goofy, which is what I love the most about her. She doesn't care what others think and is just a very entertaining person in general. When she saw the text, she immediately started screaming and then cried and hugged me. It was a very emotional moment for the both of us. My husband seemed pretty happy about it too, although he's known to not adore JJ's amusing behavior sometimes. She's a huge jokester and loves roasting him. After the reveal, she gave him a huge hug, then a pat on the back and said, "Damn Mike, didn't know you could do that." This was clearly a joke, and everyone in the room let out a laugh. My husband was not very happy. He responded with, "This is why you were the last one to know about this," in a very passive-aggressive tone. JJ was taken aback and confused. She asked me if that was true, and when I responded with an explanation, she said she was kinda hurt, but was happy for us. The excitement died down in the room after that, and everybody left soon after. I got really mad at my husband for saying that to JJ, but he says that he is tired of her cracking jokes and not taking things seriously, and most of all, he hates that I never take his side. Knowing JJ, she's really just kidding most of the time, and I don't think there's anything to be offended over. My husband thinks I'm being an arsehole here by not defending him. What do you all think? Am I the a-hole? Now, whenever we cover these stories with jokesters, it always comes down to, it's not a joke if the person isn't finding it funny as well. And I kind of feel the way the story was told in this has happened multiple times in your relationship where it said, and most of all, he hates that I never take his side. So I may be wrong, but I kind of feel like he's brought this up in the past, that he doesn't like these jokes about him, but she continues to do them and you enable that behavior at the same time. So yes, I would say you're the a-hole in this situation. But in the comments, Briar Rose says, and quotes, she's a huge jokester and loves roasting him. Then says, I'm assuming your husband has expressed his displeasure at this behavior in the past. It doesn't matter if JJ likes roasting him. If he doesn't also like it, and he clearly doesn't, then it isn't roasting, it's bullying. And like many who have been bullied continuously, he had finally had enough and clapped back. Was it mean? Yes, but so was her bullying. If you don't have the awareness to see how her bullying affects your husband, that's a you problem. And you don't get to blame him when he stands up for himself. You're the a-hole, and you need to talk to JJ about her bullying your husband. After you have a serious look at how you've helped enable their behavior for years, and apologize to your husband about it. Madeline Gumbo says, everyone sucks here. You and your friend, not your husband. It sounds like she likes to roast him and he doesn't like it. That's not entertaining behavior. This probably isn't the first time he's reacted to one of her roasts, and it's probably not the first time he's talked to you about it. He says he's tired of this. If she doesn't take him seriously, why wouldn't you step up and say something to her? You say she doesn't care about what others think. She should care what your husband thinks about what she says to him. You should too. Master says you're the a-hole. Clearly there's a history of your husband not liking JJ's banter jokes. You and JJ should respect that. Just because you and your friends find her jokes funny does not mean they are harmless to everyone. You don't get to be the judge of how your husband or anyone else feels and what offends him. Only he can decide that. Getting mad at him for being offended invalidates his feelings. No wonder he's resentful. Skynet says you're the a-hole. Your husband had obviously told you that your friend can make him uncomfortable at times and doesn't like to be joked about by her. And your response to him up until now has basically been, suck it up, it's just who she is. Like that's a free pass to be a jerk to him. It may be funny to you, but it should be pretty freaking obvious by now that it isn't to him. And his wife laughs at the jokes too, which probably makes it worse. I mean, way to empathize with someone you care about. Would it have been so hard to at least try and explain to JJ not to act that way towards him? And last comment from Review OK, who says you're the a-hole. 1. She made a joke about your husband's ability to have children. 2. You don't think that's going too far. 3. What the fuck are you thinking? 4. Whatever their prior relationship, you should have stood up for him. So then OP updates the post and says, so soon after I made the original post, I was flooded with lots of comments and judgments, and I genuinely really appreciated them. I'm someone who really believes in self-improvement, so any sort of help in that regard is greatly appreciated. I start by admitting that this entire thing was definitely a massive mistake on my part. I didn't communicate well with neither my husband nor my best friend, which resulted in the conflict. I had an extensive emotional discussion with my husband about how we are doing. The pregnancy has affected our relationship, and we haven't properly addressed that before. Mike told me that while he appreciates JJ and her caring nature, he's not a fan of her jokes in general and has tried to communicate that with me. While her jokes are rarely about him, he feels like she takes it too far sometimes. I apologize for not understanding his feelings and not addressing his concerns before. I feel like a horrible partner, but we've agreed to go to couples counseling to address our communication issues. JJ and I met up, and I told her that Mike has never liked her jokes and she needs to read the room. We also discussed my pregnancy. She said that her joke was never meant to be that deep or be directed at Mike's fertility or anything. She was sorry that she offended Mike, and that it felt like she was targeting him because that was never her intention. She also said that she felt kinda hurt only because, as my best friend, she thought she'd be one of the first people to know. But she was really happy for us and thought that Mike was a great guy and didn't want to create any problems for us. She has some childhood trauma that she slides off using her carefree persona. I invited JJ over to our house, and Mike and JJ had a heart-to-heart, honest conversation. JJ apologized to him for making unnecessary jokes and not realizing that he didn't like them. Mike told her that he could have communicated that with her better instead of saying whatever he said. JJ also agreed to maintain her distance from us, which was a tough decision to make, but we all agreed that would be best for everyone. We only hit a sour spot when Mike told JJ that she had to start taking her life more seriously and focus on finding a boyfriend and getting a real job. JJ respectfully told him that was none of anybody else's business, and she liked her carefree life. We ate ice cream together and then bid JJ goodbye. I'm not sure when I'll see her again, but for now, I'll be focusing on my husband and our baby. I was the arsehole here, and I take full responsibility of my actions, and will be working towards fixing that. Thanks, and have a good day. Now, I was kind of enjoying the self-reflection and the communication in this update. You know, it all sounded like it was going in the right direction. Then Mike turns around and tells JJ she needs to start taking her life seriously, focus on finding a boyfriend and getting a real job. I mean, what the fuck was that about? And now they're completely distancing, best friends for what, was it 14 years? I gotta say, that doesn't feel right to me at all, and I don't know. What do you guys make of this one? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And let's move on to another story. And our next story comes from Prestigious Branch, who says, am I the a-hole for telling my mum that I will respect my dad's girlfriend more than my stepdad? Backstory, my 17 female mum, 45 female, cheated on my dad, 46 male, 7 years ago with my stepdad, Alan, 50 male. I was 10 at the time. I knew that my mum had another boyfriend that made them get to a divorce. My dad was devastated to say the least. My dad fought hard to get custody from my mum because he did not want to lose me at all. He did end up getting 50-50. Ever since my parents' divorce, I hated my mum. I hated that she hurt my dad. I remember my dad drinking himself to sleep after the divorce. I was 11 and had to push him out of the couch and cleaned his vomit. I saw what my mum did to my dad, and my stepdad was also to blame for it. My dad did clean up and started to make changes in his life and became a good father figure for me, but he still suffered from the aftermath of my mum's infidelity. He was finally in a better place now. He's worked enough to build a relationship with me too. Suffice to say, the relationship I had with my mum never recovered. I hated going to her place and watch her play family with some random guy. She never made an effort to keep our family together, yet she happily became the loving wife to him. I hated him too. My mum tried really hard to make me forgive her. She said sorry and apologized. I never missed a chance to remind her that she was the one who broke my family. It will make her cry that her own daughter wants nothing to do with her, but I didn't care. I would lock myself in my room the entire time and not come out. I was always loud and clear that I don't like my stepdad, even though he has tried to make it up to me. Any gift he would give me, I would just give it away. Last year my mum, Alan, and I had a huge fight. I called my mum a cheating whore who destroyed my family. I also called Alan a homewrecker and said, "I hope your own son gets cheated on so that you know what the pain is like." Alan screamed at me that he is tired of my shit. I left their house and went to stay with my dad. I thought it was so unfair that my mum lives happily ever after and my dad was left behind to pick the pieces of our broken home. That's when my dad sat me down and told me that I should never have talked to mum like that. Sure, she made a bad choice, but she is still my mother. And then he told me he forgave her, and it is for the best that I forgive her because it will make me free. My dad went on to explain that in his therapy he realized his marriage had problems. He thought that just because everything was going on a routine and there was silence, he took it as a sign that everything was fine. However, he learned a lot about relationships and himself over the last 7 years and has tried to become someone I could look up to. He tells me he is dating someone else and he is happy with the life he has now, though there are some triggers. I was happy to hear that my dad was doing okay, and it made me realize I was being irrational. I'm still mad at mum, but I decided to give her a chance. I said sorry to both my mum and stepdad. I also said sorry to my stepbrother and my half-brother. Things have been calm and cool for a while. I met my dad's girlfriend and she seems awesome. She has 2 kids who are under 10, though she is much younger than my dad, but I didn't care. As long as dad is happy, I'm happy for him. So a few days ago I was chatting with my mum. I brought up the fact that I met my dad's girlfriend this week and she seems nice. My mum's expression changes. She went from having a smile to a frown. She says, "I didn't know your dad was dating." I said I didn't either, but my dad is taking things slow. I told her she is really nice and cool. My mum then lashed out and called me a hypocrite. She said that for years her stepdad and her have been trying hard to make me forgive them. They went out of their ways to make it right, and still I didn't accept them. But I accepted my dad's girlfriend in a heartbeat, and suddenly she is this cool step-parent. I was angry too, so I blurted out, "At least she didn't cheat on my dad like you." I also said that I would never accept my stepdad as a good human because he is the reason why I grew up in a broken family, that I do not owe them anything after how they treated my dad. I respect my dad's girlfriend more than I respect them because at least she didn't cheat on him and left him to pick up the broken pieces of our family. In fact, she is the reason why dad is happy now and she will always be above my stepdad. I stormed out and stayed with her friends. I know I shouldn't have said that. I mean, firstly, my dad and his girlfriend has only been dating for 6 months. My mum and dad were married for 13 years. And I felt like I oversold their relationship to mum, but I feel like an arsehole for how I worded it. Then we got some relevant comments from OP. One says, "My dad turned to alcohol right after my mum cheated on him and he discovered it. The divorce just made it worse. He did love my mum with his heart and I saw how much he adored her. I was angry that my mum betrayed him and my family. If the divorce was amicable and did not involve infidelity, I would have understood, but my mum lied to him and me for a year, duration of her affair. I remember my mum telling my dad she loves him and then going to her affair partner after that. The thought just disgusted me. Also, yes, my dad did let himself go after the divorce, but he cleaned himself. He doesn't drink anymore and he's been an involved father ever since. He said that seeing me clean his vomit really hit him, that if he doesn't get his shit together, he would lose me as well." Next comment says, "You don't know what I've been through because of her infidelity. She had a second chance when she walked out on her family. The only difference is my dad didn't cheat. He was a loyal husband who loved his wife. Even after the divorce, he pushed me to maintain a relationship with mum. In 30 years, maybe I will forgive her, but her face will always remind me of my dad just being suicidal and ripping off my family for her own selfish needs." Next comment. "My dad says it's important for me to maintain a relationship with mum. He thinks every child should have a mum. I don't go there often now. I mostly live with dad, but my dad insists I go there and build a relationship." Next one says, "You have no idea what my dad went through. It is easy for you to label him pathetic when you haven't been in his shoes. I was young, but I wasn't stupid. I understood that my mum left our family for another man, and that was enough to make me not want to trust her again. Regardless, my dad pulled through. He came clean and was a better parent than my mum was. He said sorry for not being able to keep his family together, and he was the one that got me therapy. My mum only gave a half-assed apology and brushed it off without considering my feelings. I went to therapy when I was 14. I accepted that their marriage had problems, but it doesn't justify her cheating. The trust I had for her broken. It will never be the same. Maybe in a few years I will have somewhat common grounds with my mum, but our relationship will never be the same. The scar will always remain that she chose some random man over her own family. My dad and girlfriend are dating for 6 to 7 months now. My dad only introduced us recently. I have yet to meet her kids. My dad said that he didn't tell me because he didn't want to add another person in my life without my consideration, because he has seen how the addition of a stepdad did to me. He's taking it slow in that sense. I'm still getting to know her, and I'm still uncomfortable with the fact that she could be my new stepmom. It's not my dad's grief. Yes, I'm seeing him like that, miserable and battered, made me sad, but her walking out on us messed me up. Plus, she wanted me to call my stepfather Dad. It is a parent's job to provide stability. That also includes working on your marriage, which my mum never did. I do understand I hold a grudge, but the relationship with my mum would not be the same. Opie then moved on to another subreddit to ask advice and says, I just want to vent in here, so please bear with me. My mum and I don't have a good relationship. This was really because she cheated on my dad with my stepdad. I was 10 at the time. I remember watching my mum and dad fight, my dad crying and saying, why did she do this to him? Why did she break our family? She didn't stay. She left us and went to have her perfect life with my stepdad. I knew why. I was a kid but still understood that she broke a promise to my dad. The very mum who told me to always keep promises broke her vow. I was devastated. I would cry because our house felt empty. My dad spiraled into depression and alcohol, but he came out clean just for me. I saw the amount of dedication my father gave to just provide some stability. He was there for me when I cried holding our family photo. I sometimes saw him holding that picture of us and being sad. I wish she could just understand how much I was hurt, but she didn't. She married my stepdad. After 5 months, her divorce was finalized. She only gave me a vague half-assed apology. She didn't even apologize to my dad for her infidelity. I remember our camping trip when I was 8 and we took a picture. I also went on a trip with her new family, even though I didn't want to. She wanted to recreate the same picture, except this time it was with my stepdad. It just made me angry, because it looked like she wanted to replace my dad with a homewrecker. My therapist told me I shouldn't have to pick sides. I can love both my mum and dad despite their failures, but I couldn't. I do love my mum, but it's just not the same. As I grew up, I saw the difference between my mum and dad. My dad was always concerned about my well-being, providing me stability and an open space to show my emotion. Whereas my mum was only concerned that I accept her husband as my family. She kept pushing and trying to get him involved in my life. She even asked me to call him Dad. It was the first time I lashed out at her. I told her I already have a dad and I will never replace him with anyone. She got upset and told me, when you will grow up, you will know why I did what I did. It was wrong, but you would understand what led me to it. I'm almost 18. I still don't understand why she had to hurt me and my dad. I get that they had marital problems, but if they divorced amicably, I would understand. But no, she hurt me and my dad and broke our trust. I've been struggling with this a lot. I feel like I'm the villain here because she sometimes implies that this is my fault for not accepting her husband in my life. That I'm punishing her for what she did 7 years ago. But why doesn't she understand how her actions hurt me? Why does she want me to just sweep it under the rug like nothing happened? Like her cheating and leaving didn't happen? I cannot play house with her and her family. I wish she could somehow understand what I'm going through, what my dad went through, but she just doesn't get it. So mum's here. Please tell me that I'm not going crazy for this. OP adds another update and says, this is not a very exciting update, but a lot of people have shown me love and support in this community. Also, I need to address one thing. Many people criticize my dad for being an alcoholic. Well, he is not an alcoholic. He hasn't drank in 6 years. Yes, cited mention that he drowned his pain in alcohol when my mum cheated and after divorce, but he stopped when he saw me trying to clean up his vomit. I know he was wrong, but he's done literally everything to make it up to me. He went to rehab and threw away all his alcoholic drinks in the house. He went to therapy and worked hard on his career. He even got me to therapy. He's apologized for his toxic behavior, and also he tried his best to keep our family together. He has always made an open space for me to express my feelings. I feel safe with him. I trust him. He never badmouthed my mother in front of me. Yes, he still suffers from anxiety, but he has it under control. I hated watching his and our lives uprooted. So I don't think it is fair for you guys to blame my dad only when he changed for me. He came clean. He stopped being an alcoholic. But say this to me, can my mother undo her infidelity? Also, I know their marriage had problems, but is cheating the right thing for her to do? And I haven't mentioned a major thing, that is my stepdad and my dad used to be friends until the discovery of my mum's infidelity. He cut him off his life too. So yeah, you can imagine the pain both me and my dad went through, but I'm proud of him for keeping his head straight. So now to the update. I talked to my dad and arranged therapy with my old therapist. I also suggested that we need family therapy as well. My dad fully supported me and said he will look into it. Lastly, I called my mum to say sorry, but instead, my stepdad picked it up. I asked for my mum, and he said that my mum has locked herself in her bedroom because she is pissed. My mum has this habit that whenever she is mad, she locks herself in her room. I asked why. He said that they had a fight about my dad. Basically, my mum had a hint that my dad was dating someone a few weeks ago when she saw him at the local market with his girlfriend. At that time, I knew he had a girlfriend but didn't tell mum. She took the liberty to track her on Facebook. I don't know how she got her ID. My stepdad has caught her several times looking at my dad's girlfriend. There were pictures of dad and her too. So that argument was that my mum was basically obsessed with my dad's girlfriend and has been stalking her. My stepdad said it's best that I do not speak to her for a while because she clearly has some issues of her own. Well, I don't know what to say. Some of you told me she was jealous that my dad moved on. This could be it. I may or may not post any further updates, so until then, see you guys. I'll be in therapy, working things out on my own. Edit. For fuck's sake, people. I'm really getting tired of people messaging me and commenting that my dad was a deadbeat who used me as a nurse. Some of you are so cruel that you think that my mum made the right choice by cheating on him and leaving him. To you, I have nothing else to say. You guys are just a bunch of triggered owls who only want to blame the victim here. No, my dad was not an alcoholic throughout his life. It only happened when he confronted my mum for her affair. It only lasted for like a year. And no, he didn't make me clean his vomit. I saw him covered in it, so I cleaned him myself, and then he woke up and saw me. I don't know how many times I have to repeat it. That was the first and last time it happened. You guys only see this part, but there is so much you don't know. He was the best dad I could ask for, and I wouldn't trade it just because one time I had to clean him up. I don't care now. Because my dad has cleaned up my vomit numerous times when I was sick, and he did it without a complaint. I cannot believe you guys are so pathetic that you only fixated on that part, not the part where he actually cleaned himself up and made a better place for me. He was not a deadbeat or abusive in any way. Deadbeat dads don't put their daughters to therapy and fight hard for their custody. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for getting involved in today's stories. Your love, your support, your time always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being involved. And hopefully we'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.